one for the uninitiated. I'm an IAS officer. I hope everybody knows what that is. Yes. No? Okay, good. So, let me just give you a background of where I come from and what I've done, and then we'll move on to the topic. So, I wanted to be someone who did something with the society, with the people, somewhere helping around. So, I wanted to be a doctor initially when I was like 5-6 years old, and also because I keep visiting doctors, all my life. That's been one thing after another. Doctors. So I thought that's like the best thing to do. I wanted to be a doctor or an IAS officer or an IFS officer. IFS sounds really cool, right? You visit country to country and hang out with like the best people in the world. So that was the idea. Then I grew up. 12th class came, Dad decided, you can't be a doctor, I mean, you look like this. Who's going to come to you for treatment? So he sent me to engineering, which I'm pretty sure almost 70% of people must be. Right? Yeah. And my engineering was actually a 4-year MBA course. Yeah, that's what I did. Probably BBA, to be practical about this. So what I did was basically organize events like this, start my own theatre group, start an astronomy club, all sorts of things, except in engineering classes. Next step, naturally, MBA, business school. Went to FMS, joined Cadre after that. I was in a sales strategy kind of role, which basically meant innovation. So I used to do all these amazing projects that the company wanted to do. You see these cycle rickshaws for ice cream, right? The kelas? Yeah, so I launched those for chocolates. Unfortunately, I quit, so nobody carried that forward. You've eaten self chocolates? Yes. Self? Please tell me you've eaten self chocolates. Oh boy, okay, yes. So I was part of the team that did the launch plan for that, and I designed the boxes that are supposed to carry them from the shop, from the distributors to the shopkeepers. And you guys know what distributors are, business school. Yeah, so awesome job. I used to work, initially I worked like 10 to 12 hours, and then I did almost 20 hours some days. I did all India Diwali sales alone for all the corporates, so that was crazy work. And then I realized that while the job was amazing, I got to do brilliant stuff, I still felt something was lacking. If I'm doing 20-hour days, then I needed a little more. Not just money, not just comfort. And trust me, Cadre is very comfortable. At least it was back then, so I don't know about now. And then I went back to my old dream of joining the services and doing something for the country. Gave the exam in 2010. Clear in IRS, Customs and Central Excise. Thought that that's not what I want to do. I started giving the exam again. And with that, what happened is, when the result for 11 came out, I did not get a posting. And because I was giving the exam again, I thought it would come, let it wait. Usually, things in my life happen like that, Something or the other keeps going wrong. So I thought, this is just one of those. So let it happen. I kept waiting. By 2012 is when they tell me that we're not going to give you the job, even though we know you can do it. Which basically meant that while I fit all the physical requirements of the job, which means things that you can physically do and things that you're physically required to do, but because you're in a disabled category that we don't understand, we're not going to give you the job. So that happened, which was like, what? I mean, corporate sector was that nice to me, and suddenly government, which is supposed to be all-inclusive and the one that leads people at least in these changes, that one's decided, no. Gave the exam again in 11. The result came out in 12. Again, same service, similar rank. And by that time is when I started getting calls from all the other people with the disabilities who had cleared the exam and were again being stuck in similar problems. So basically every year, they would just tell people that why you may be able to do the job, because you're disabled and you come in the reservation category, by the way. We'll still not give it to you. So, since I don't really like fighting for myself, but because all of these people came and said that this is happening to them, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a court. Courts in India are expensive, and you cannot imagine how expensive. And the problem with disability, it's mostly people who come from poor families. So having to go to court to fight that, it was impossible for them. That's when I thought, my dad wanted to fight it. My dad was like, we should fight this. This is unfair. And he's one believer in fairness and justice. I decided to fight it because I realized all of those people didn't have a voice. They didn't have anybody who could fight for them, and they didn't have anybody who could get them justice. And these are people with disabilities who actually have motion problems, right? What is this? So these are physically disabled people, right? So their biggest issue is moving from one place to another. And the government is making them move from one point to the other just to give them the job. And even then they're not getting. But they're having to go from office to office, from desk to desk, asking people what is wrong, why am I not getting this? But that happened. So that's when I decided to fight it. I kept doing the exam again. Third time, 2013. Again, same results, same service. Again, my candidature was cancelled. So my judgment comes in 2014 February, and the court has been nice and the court understands. Unfortunately, the case did not give the justice to all the others, but just to me. So the judgment was such that it didn't help the others, but I was hoping to fight it again. So anyway, so February the judgment comes. According to the court, I should be given the post. I wait around, and I'm waiting and waiting as you do in government. So this time, I'm by this time done. I mean, 3 times, 3 attempts, same exam, and same rank, same service. How does that happen? Right? So I thought that's what life is telling me. This is what you're supposed to do. Go ahead, do this. I don't want to give the exam. A friend of mine convinces me, no, give it since you have nothing better to do. Give it again. While I'm still waiting and hoping that my joining will come so that I don't have to give this. Trust me, it's a horrible exam to study for someone who doesn't like studying. Yeah, that's me. So it is painful. But you have nothing better to do. You quit your corporate job. Going back with the judgment was weird. I just couldn't do that to a company. So yeah, I did it again, got through. And this time I really did not care. I closed my joining comes for IRS comes 3 or 4 days before the mains exam, and a part of me decides, let's do this and let's quit. But unfortunately, the date of joining is after the exam, so you can't really chicken out that much, right? So I did, and I did the exam, and strangely I topped that time, and I still don't know how. So. Coming to your topic, I have a question. Why do we need barriers? Why is there a barrier that we need to break? Why this thought process? Why do we assume that certain people can do certain things and only they can or others can't? Why are we even thinking that? Why is there a barrier? The way I see it, it's all in our thought process. So one of us has decided somebody else has that limit. I mean, who is anybody else to decide anybody else's limit? And unless you've tested your own limits, how can you also decide this? So my point is, why should any kind of disability or any kind of problem be a barrier? Right? I mean, why is that whole concept there? Why is anything a barrier? Why have we decided that this is what this person is only capable of doing? So okay, let's take disability. Everybody has some disability, you realize that, right? It may be physical, it may be emotional, it may be mental, it may be societal. A kid who doesn't have any money has problems as well, right? A kid who lost his parents when he was a child has problems as well. Everybody has problems, everybody has disabilities. You can just see that in some cases and you can't see them in others. So the whole idea of deciding what anybody is capable of, putting barriers and putting boundaries, I don't see that. I don't understand how we can do that. We haven't tested someone else. We haven't seen what we can do. And it's all in your head. Unfortunately, in the case of disabled people across the world, it's you who has to stand up and break the barriers. See, one thing is true, the world sees you as you see yourself. If I start thinking there's something wrong with me, all of you here will think there's something wrong with me. So it starts with you. So one thing that I've been doing as a kid, and I still do it, is, when you're someone who looks like me or anybody with any kind of physical disability, when you walk down the street, everybody turns around and gives you a look. Everybody. they turn around and they look at you like, and you could get offended, you could think, oh my God, they're being so rude to me, and they're judging me, or they're being nasty to me. But if you look at it practically, wouldn't you look down the look at an elephant walking by just randomly on the street, right? We all turn around and look at something which is different. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that we're judging it, or it doesn't necessarily have to mean that we're thinking that there's something wrong with it, or it's a negative emotion. The way I see it, if someone's looking at me, they're curious, and so would I be. So I could react and get offended, or I could just smile and give them a positive feeling, at which they will think there's nothing wrong, and their emotions would get pacified, or whatever curiosity you have, at least it won't be a negative curiosity, right? So the way I see it is, you can control what other people think of you. If you get offended, if you decide there's something wrong with you, so will others. And if you decide there are barriers to you, that's when others decide. To me, topping this exam couldn't possibly be anything to feel great about or think that wasn't something that a person with a disability could do. Why not? It's about your mental ability, right? So why should anybody tell you that, oh my God, it's so great you did it because you thought I couldn't? Well, why did you think that? Who told you that this was not something that could be done? So I think what's most important in our lives is ourselves deciding what we're going to do about who we are. The minute we decide who we are, the minute we decide what our barriers are, the ones we set for ourselves, that's what the world is going to see. And I don't think we should create barriers for others. You know, it's all in your thought process. The minute you decide someone sitting next to you is worth just that much, that's when you have created the barriers in society, which that person will have to break. And then we'll probably get invited to a stage like this. So, good for them in that case. But yeah, I really don't have too much to say, but the way I see it, you need to decide what your limits are, other people can't. And for that, you need to be absolutely honest with yourself. The minute you're honest with yourself, you are able to see clearly who you are, that's when your barriers break, that's when your limits go. Because thinking to ourselves of, either fantasizing, which is so easy to do, especially in a B-school environment because you're competing with everybody all the time and it's such a race. I remember those days, yeah. Right, the placement time, oh my God, yeah, so give everybody else a space, and give yourself the freedom and be honest with yourself. Don't judge yourself too much, don't decide for yourself basis what everybody else has been telling you. The best part is the world around you keeps telling you something about you. They do not know what is happening in your head. They do not know what you've done with your life. They don't know what your thought processes are, what your learnings has been. But they still decide things for you and they tell you that and you tend to believe that. So my input just here is that there are no barriers except the ones you create for yourself. So don't let anybody else tell you what you're capable of. Don't let anybody else decide what is awesome about you, what isn't, and what you can do and what you can't. You're the only person who can, and the minute you decide that, you can. So thank you so much.